America remains the most powerful country on earth, but does it face existential threats to the very identity of who she is?
Sure, if we embrace socialism or if we allow external elements like radical Islamic terrorists and such to disrupt our societies.
America is founded on an idea. What is that idea all about?
It raises the question about what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to have an order, a political order that's designed to allow for the fulfillment of the human soul and liberty?
And can the nation go back to its original design?
It's not about going back to the 18th century. It's not about getting rid of technology and changing our lives. It's not going back at all. It's about looking up.
And do you think America can achieve a true liberty without faith?
That's a great question. I think individuals can adhere to liberty without faith, but I think for America, for the American government experience to really work, it has to be grounded on eternal truths that emanate almost always from faith traditions.
The Liberty Bell, which is the iconic figure of American history, of the founding of America, has one verse on it, one statement, and it's from the Bible. You shall proclaim liberty throughout your land to all its inhabitants.
Merry Christmas, everyone! Today we will do a Christmas special for Zooming In. I selected some of my dialogues with some very smart people in this country. The theme of our conversation is liberty. We know this nation is facing some very big challenges: the pandemic, border crisis, socialism, China threat, and so on. None of these challenges are easy, but the solution to all these problems ultimately hinges on who we as Americans think we are and what we stand for. Yes, we have a crisis going on in this country, but the existential threat we truly face is the threat to our identity. America was founded on the idea. The idea has carried us for over a quarter of a millennium and made us the most powerful and prosperous nation on this planet. But today, we may need to re-examine whether this idea truly facilitates mankind's ultimate purpose. If it does, how do we carry the torch forward? I hope you enjoy these conversations as much as we enjoyed engaging with some of the finest minds in the country. Would you talk about maybe the philosophical and theological origin of the concept of freedom?
Sure. There's a Liberty Bell in America, which probably the great majority of young people in America never heard of because they're not taught American history, except that it's a bunch of slaves and bigots and genocidal maniacs. But the Liberty Bell, which is the iconic figure of American history, of the founding of America, has one verse on it, one statement, and it's from the Bible. You shall proclaim liberty throughout your land to all its inhabitants, from the third book of the Bible, Leviticus. They knew that freedom is dependent upon a God who wants us to be free. In other words, it's a tiny bit complex, but it's critically important what you asked. They knew that human beings are not basically good, that it's very hard to make good people. And anyone who denies that obviously went to college, because you have to learn something foolish. It doesn't normally exist in people to believe silly things. After the 20th century's genocides and Auschwitz, to believe people are basically good is to be a fool. And they knew we're not basically good. These were people drenched in biblical outlook. So they said, look, we have two choices. People will either be accountable to the government or to God. In order to be free, we have to have small government. So therefore, they have to be morally accountable to God. That's how freedom and God are utterly interrelated in American history.
Why does God want us to be free?
You'll have to ask God. I mean, my answer, but I'm not God, is that God wants what is best for us. If God didn't want us to be free, he wouldn't have given us free will.
So do you think America can achieve true freedom without faith?
It's impossible. It won't achieve anything. America will be like every other place with the decline of God, of Judeo-Christian values in the Bible. And that's what the left wants. It wants us to be like every other place. They want this to be Belgium between Canada and Mexico. That's the nightmare that I work against, that America will be like other countries.
Okay. Can you tell me from a more philosophical point of view, a perspective, like why we cannot achieve true freedom without faith?
Because well, first of all, we can't achieve true freedom without faith, because if there is no God, there is no free will. If there is no God, then all I am is matter. Matter has no free will. I am made out of stellar matter. Stars and I are made out of the same thing. Stars don't have free will. I don't have free will. There is no secular philosopher who believes we have free will, and if he does, he's not secular. They acknowledge that it's just a bunch of neurons that are firing that make any decision. There is no free will. Only those who believe in God believe that there's free will, because there is a me, a Dennis, independent of my chemistry. So, number one, to answer you, freedom itself, free will, is dependent upon there being a God. And number two is the one that the founding fathers understood. People can only be free as the government shrinks. But the government can only shrink if people feel morally accountable to God.
Do you think there is a existential threat to America in terms of what makes America America?
Well, completely. The left is worried about the existential threat of global warming, and I am worried about the existential threat of the left.
Yes.
All right. So do you think today's America, American people can still go back to the path that our founding fathers?
Yes, I do believe that, and that's what my life's work at this time, just personally, is involved in. My 5-volume commentary on the Bible, to make people who have no religious background aware of how great a work it is. It's called The Rational Bible. I know this sounds like an ad. I don't care. Nobody writes a Bible commentary to get rich, so I have no problem in stating that people, if they read the Rational Bible, there is a good chance they will say, maybe there really is a God.
So you think that's the way?
That's the only way. We have to use reason, because we can't just say believe, believe, believe. We have to say there is reason to believe. Reason without God is as useless as God without reason. God wants us to use reason. There's actually a verse to that effect in Deuteronomy, but God wants us to use reason, and reason necessitates God. I come to God 100% through reason. My faith is completely dependent upon reason. I admit it.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, I am not prepared to take anything just on faith. I want to see the evidence. I want to see the evidence for God's existence is overwhelming. Charles Krauthammer, may he rest in peace. I interviewed him a number of times, and I didn't interview him on politics. He was an agnostic, totally secular man, and he said the only stupid idea is atheism. The idea that everything came from nothing is just stupid. I mean, it was amazing the way he put it down. And the guy was a completely secular man, and no religion in his life that I knew of or that he spoke of. But he understood that on rational grounds alone, the case for God is much stronger than the case for atheism.
I you talking about proof like the existence of God, like miracles and stuff? Is that
Miracles or faith? I can fully acknowledge miracles or faith, but whether or not the world came about on its own or there was a first cause, that's not faith. That's reason. I agree. Yes, Jesus walking on water is a statement of faith. Moses splitting the sea is a statement of faith. I get it. I understand that. But that there is a creator and it didn't all come by itself, that's reason.
Why do you think there is anti-Semitism?
I wrote a book explaining anti-Semitism. It's called Why the Jews. You ask very good and very big questions, I might ask. There is anti-Semitism because people hate the fact that the Jews brought in a judge into the world. People want to do what they want, and the Jews brought in a transcendent judge. This is not me as a Jew saying it. This is what Christians who have written on anti-Semitism have said. And even though most Jews don't believe this, it's irrelevant. This is at the root of it. Jew hatred is unique. There are 215 countries or so in the world. Only one is targeted for extinction. Only one. The Jewish state the size of New Jersey. People have to explain that. A lot of countries hate each other, okay? India and Pakistan hate each other. No Indian is advocating the eradication of Pakistanis. No Pakistani is advocating the eradication of Indians. But the enemies of Israel, look, Iran admits it. We want to exterminate Israel. And there's got to be a reason. Jew hatred is unique. And I explained it in the book.
Thank you so much. At the center of American value is liberty. Tell me what liberty means to you.
Liberty to me is a synonym of freedom. And to me, that means that God gives us the ability to make choices for our own individual life.
And do you think America can achieve a true liberty without faith?
That's a great question. I think individuals can adhere to liberty without faith, but I think for America, for the American government experience to really work, it has to be grounded on eternal truths that emanate almost always from faith traditions.
ACU is all about small government. Tell me why a ever more growing, ever more redistributive government defeats the purpose of America.
Well, I mean, eventually you're asking a question about socialism, and socialism is not consistent with Americanism. America was established primarily to allow individuals to chart their life and not to have government chart our lives. So, I think that type of ideology fails everywhere it's tried. It hurts people, it hurts the poor, it hurts the middle class, and I really hope America will reject it.
That's it for today. Please tune in for part 2 of this conversation tomorrow. Have a very Merry Christmas with your family and loved ones. I'll see you tomorrow on Christmas Day.